At the beginning of the story, a text was received from Miyuki. She had texted Eiji, apologizing and saying that something had come up with her club activities and that she just could not get out of it. Eiji replied that it was okay and told her not to worry about it, wishing her good luck with club practice. Deep inside, however, Eiji felt downhearted because it was supposed to be their special birthday date. He began to think about the past, remembering how he had confessed to Miyuki, his childhood friend, Amada Miyuki, who became his girlfriend after he confessed to her last Christmas. Miyuki was like an idol, always admired by everyone. Eiji thought that if they had not been childhood friends, he probably could not have even spoken to her properly, let alone dated her. It had been half a year since then, yet because Eiji had been too hesitant, they still had not even kissed. Eiji could not have imagined that Miyuki would blow off their very first date as a couple. He had gone all out for the occasion, planning everything carefully for that special day. The scene then shifted to a crowded street where Eiji noticed a movie theater. He thought about how this was the place he was supposed to go with Miyuki. He imagined himself sitting beside her in the theater, holding her hand, but then he suddenly snapped out of his daydream and felt embarrassed for letting his imagination wander. Feeling a mix of disappointment and awkwardness, Eiji began walking again. As he moved through the streets, he noticed couples around him. Then he saw one couple kissing, and he suddenly froze, realizing something strange. Looking around, he noticed that the area was filled with couples and realized that he had wandered into the Love Hotel district. Eiji stood stunned, his face heating with embarrassment. His imagination ran wild again as he pictured himself with Miyuki inside a hotel room. In his mind, Miyuki pulled at Eiji's shirt with an embarrassed look before sitting shyly on the edge of the bed. Snapping back to reality once more, Eiji scolded himself internally. Feeling humiliated by his own thoughts, he decided to head back, thinking he was being an idiot for daydreaming about such things. Just as Eiji turned to leave, he suddenly heard a voice behind him saying, "Oh no, senpai, stop it." When he looked back, his entire body went numb. Standing before him was his girlfriend, Miyuki, with a strange guy. Eiji froze, his eyes wide in shock as he muttered her name, "Miyuki?" Miyuki's face turned pale with fear as she also uttered Eiji's name in surprise. Both of them asked at the same time why the other was there. The tension between them grew unbearable. Eiji, trembling with emotion, grabbed Miyuki's hand in anger and demanded an explanation. Miyuki cried out in pain, saying that it hurt, which made Eiji realize what he was doing. He quickly released her hand and apologized, startled by his own reaction. Before Eiji could say anything else, the strange guy suddenly landed a punch on him, sending him crashing against the wall. In pain and confusion, Eiji looked up as the guy yelled at him, asking what the hell he thought he was doing to his girl. Eiji, stunned and bleeding, stammered in disbelief, asking what the guy was talking about and insisting that Miyuki was the one who had cheated. The guy smirked with an evil smile and mocked Eiji, asking if he was some kind of stalker. Eiji turned desperately to Miyuki, begging her to say something. But the guy continued speaking, sneering as he revealed that Miyuki had said she was only dating Eiji because they were childhood friends. Eiji's face turned pale with shock as he repeated Miyuki's name in disbelief. The guy smirked again, looking at Miyuki with a twisted satisfaction, and said that she always said that kind of stuff when they were in bed together. Eiji's mind shattered as he heard those words. He grabbed Miyuki's clothes in desperation, asking her what the guy had just said. The guy, still smirking, turned to Miyuki and told her that if she really liked Eiji that much, he did not mind ending it right there. He demanded that Miyuki choose between him and Eiji. Terrified, Miyuki began to cry and begged the guy not to throw her away. She said that if he left her, she would not be able to go on living. Eiji stood in shock, his heart crumbling as he watched. The guy smiled and praised Miyuki for understanding, saying that as long as she knew her place, that was enough. Then, he ordered her to say it clearly and out loud, demanding to know who Eiji was. Miyuki, trembling and in tears, said that Eiji was her childhood friend, but now he was clingy, like a stalker, and a horrible, abusive boyfriend. Eiji's eyes widened in disbelief as he repeated her name in shock. The guy placed his hand on Miyuki's shoulder with a smug smile and told her to tell the delusional stalker properly. Miyuki looked at Eiji one last time and said that she was sorry, asking him not to talk to her at school anymore. From that day on, Eiji's happy everyday life came crashing down completely. After that day, the scene shifted to the Aono family kitchen, where Eiji entered quietly. His brother noticed and greeted him with a cheerful, "Oh, welcome back, Eiji." Their mother looked over and said warmly, "Oh my, "You're home early." His brother asked whether Eiji had skipped lunch and offered to make him something to eat, but Eiji, his face lowered, replied that he was fine and thanked him. Their mother called his name softly, concerned, but Eiji ignored her and walked away silently. The scene then moved to Eiji's bedroom, where he lay on his bed, staring blankly into space. He thought about how, after that day, he had ended up just staying in bed from the shock. All he could do was wait for time to pass. Later, his brother came into the room and asked if he was not eating, to which Eiji quietly responded that he was not. Days passed in that same silence, and Eiji's thoughts grew darker. Every night, he began having the same kind of nightmares over and over again. In his dreams, he saw Miyuki and the other guy together. Miyuki was in the guy's arms, laughing softly, saying that Eiji was seriously disgusting, that just because they were childhood friends, he had misunderstood and become clingy. The guy would tell her to forget about that creepy guy already and to focus only on him now. Miyuki would reply with a gentle yes. Eiji often woke up from those dreams in a panic, screaming for it to stop. His face would be pale, drenched in sweat. In the quiet of the night, he would whisper to himself, begging for it to end. His thoughts were filled with dread as he realized that he had become so afraid, even of falling asleep. Unable to bear it, Eiji began leaving the house just to escape his thoughts. One morning, after washing his face, he walked aimlessly through the streets. Suddenly, someone grabbed him from behind and called out cheerfully, asking if there was anything new with Amada-san. Eiji forced a smile and awkwardly laughed, saying vaguely that there was not much. A short while later, another girl approached him and asked if there was someone he liked. Startled, Eiji stammered and denied it, asking why she had suddenly brought that up. The girl smiled playfully and said that he never talked about that kind of thing. Eiji, trying to defend himself, blurted out that even Miyuki never talked about such things either. The girl then teased him, joking that she should just become his bride. Shocked, Eiji shouted in surprise, and the girl laughed, saying she was only kidding. When she saw how seriously Eiji had reacted, she laughed even harder, teasing him that he had taken it seriously. Eiji grew embarrassed and irritated, telling her to cut it out, but she only continued to laugh. Later, the scene shifted. Eiji was walking down a hallway when he suddenly grabbed the shoulder of a girl from behind, and when the girl turned, he realized it was Miyuki. Eiji froze, his face filled with mixed embarrassment and confusion. Before he could speak, Miyuki's friend stepped forward protectively, glaring at him. Her friend scolded him, telling him not to get involved with Miyuki anymore and calling him an abusive creep. Eiji stood in shock, unable to respond. Miyuki's friend then grabbed Miyuki's hand and pulled her away, warning Eiji that if he kept stalking Miyuki, she would not let him get away with it. As they walked off, her friend told Miyuki that she had to ignore stalkers like that properly. Eiji, face pale and full of conflict, quietly agreed. The scene then shifted back to the Aono family kitchen, where Eiji was once again lying under his blanket, looking utterly defeated. His phone suddenly vibrated beside him, and he picked it up. On the screen, he saw a message from an unknown account. His eyes widened as he read the words, "Die, you're disgusting." More messages followed one after another: violent creep scum, abusive guy, cheater, the worst. The messages kept coming rapidly, flooding his screen. Eiji stared at them, trembling, unable to comprehend what was happening. His mind screamed in disbelief as he thought to himself that he had not done anything. Overwhelmed, Eiji dropped his phone and sat up in frustration. The cruel texts continued to arrive. His breathing quickened as he tried to make sense of it all. The next day, the scene shifted to the school. Eiji walked down the corridor with a heavy heart, telling himself to act like it was a normal day again. When he opened the classroom door, the students inside immediately turned to look at him, and an uneasy silence filled the room. Eiji ignored their stares, walked to his desk, and sat down quietly. But soon, he noticed that everyone had begun whispering. Their words reached his ears, each one sharper than the last piece of trash, creepy, just die, enemy of women. Eiji lowered his head, whispering to himself that he had not done anything wrong. But then, one student suddenly yelled at him to shut up, calling him a criminal and saying that there was no way Miyuki would lie. Another added that even Kondo-senpai from the soccer club had said he saw it. Eiji's eyes widened in disbelief. The student went on, saying that between two school celebrities and a criminal like Eiji, anyone would know who to believe. A girl then added that she did not want to hear anything more from him. Eiji's spirit broke further with every word. He lowered his head and thought despairingly, asking himself why things had ended up like this. When recess came, the classroom filled with chatter as students ate together, laughing and sharing food. Eiji sat alone in silence, eating by himself. His phone suddenly buzzed, showing a message from his club group chat. Today's club is suddenly cancelled, so no need to come. Eiji stared at the message, his expression hollow. He thought to himself that there was no one left in the class he could rely on anymore. Despite that, he went to the clubroom, hoping that someone might still be there. Standing in front of the door, he thought that even though the club president had said it was cancelled, maybe someone would still be around, maybe he could talk to someone, ask for help. As he slowly opened the door, he heard voices inside. Someone called out to the president, asking if they had made sure to lie and tell Aono that the club was cancelled. The president's voice replied, saying that they had sent him a message during lunch, adding that it was scary to even see him anymore. Another voice asked what they should do with the draft Eiji had drawn, and someone responded that they had already thrown it out, mocking him by saying that he did not even have any talent but still tried so hard on the manuscript. They laughed, calling him seriously pathetic. Listening from the doorway, Eiji's face filled with tears. His hands trembled as he thought that he really had no one on his side anymore. Then, a thought flashed in his mind, maybe vice homeroom teacher Ayase could help. Eiji ran toward the classroom, hoping she might still be there. When he arrived, he saw Miyuki's friend talking to Ayase-sensei, saying that she thought Miyuki had been really troubled about something lately. Ayase-sensei replied that it was rare for Amada-san to be the one struggling and asked if she had gotten caught up in something because she was too kind. Miyuki's friend agreed softly. Eiji froze, listening, then turned and ran down the hallway, recalling Ayase-sensei's words in his mind. "There's no other student as outstanding as you. I'll definitely be on your side." For a moment hope flickered inside him. He reached his locker, but when he opened it, he found a horrible threatening note stuck inside. The note read, "If you snitch, I'm going to the shop lol." The scene then shifted again. Students were going home, the halls emptying as Eiji ran away from the school. When he returned to his family restaurant, the bell above the door clacked softly. His mother greeted him warmly, asking if there had been no club that day. Eiji replied that it had been cancelled at the last minute. His mother smiled gently, saying she understood, and reminding him that he had not been feeling well lately, telling him to rest properly. Eiji thanked her quietly, thinking to himself that even though his mother and brother were both tired, they still cared for him deeply. His mother reassured him that kids did not need to worry about their parents. His older brother added that all Eiji needed to do was enjoy school. Eiji smiled weakly and thought about how, since their father had died, his mother had never once cried in front of them. She always smiled so they would not worry. His older brother had been doing his best to protect the family and the shop in their father's place. Determined not to cause them pain, Eiji told himself that as long as he kept enduring, no one else had to be unhappy. The scene shifted to Miyuki, who was sitting alone on her bed. Since that day, she had not been able to sleep. Her mind was filled with thoughts about what had happened when Eiji had seen her with the other guy. She kept asking herself why things had turned out like that. Miyuki thought that maybe that day had just been a dream. She recalled that if Kondo-senpai had not been there, if she had just clung to Eiji while crying and said that she did not want to break up, things might have been different. When she saw how Eiji was being bullied afterward, she almost started crying herself, but then she told herself firmly that she could not cry, because she was the one who did not get to cry. Miyuki began to reflect on how it had all started as just a silly love talk with her friends. She had been happy then, but her relationship with Eiji was not progressing much. Her friends had misunderstood that as a problem and introduced her to Kondo-senpai, who had more dating experience. Kondo-senpai was athletic, smart, the ace of the soccer team, handsome, and gentlemanly. Unlike Eiji and Miyuki, who were each other's first loves, Kondo had a more mature view of relationships. He seemed incredibly attractive to Miyuki. One day, Kondo-senpai told her with a teasing smile that no guy would not be into a cute girl like Miyuki-chan, adding that if it were him, he would have made a move right away, then laughed and said he was just kidding. He brought her a drink and offered to get her something else, speaking with casual confidence. With a slight blush, he told her that she was seriously attractive and suggested that maybe Eiji was just intimidated by that. Then, before she could react, he leaned in and kissed her. Miyuki thought about how everything she had been supposed to give to Eiji had been taken away by Kondo. It did not take long before Kondo had taken it all. The scene then shifted to a hotel room, where Kondo looked at her with an evil smile and told her that it was okay, that if someone did not make a move on a girlfriend as attractive as Miyuki, it was his fault. He told her that she was not the one in the wrong, that the one who had failed as a man was Eiji. Miyuki believed those words, her thoughts spinning between guilt and self-justification. Later, Kondo looked at his phone and told her that the club was off on the 30th, suggesting they hang out. Miyuki hesitated and replied that the day was Eiji's birthday. Without even looking at her, Kondo said whatever, and that he would ask another girl instead. Shocked, Miyuki tried to stop him, asking what he meant, but he dismissed her coldly, saying she was always putting that Eiji guy first. He told her that this way, they could both be happier, and that it made him realize he barely existed in her world. He said he was tired of chasing her, and that they should just end it. With tears in her eyes, Miyuki pleaded with him to wait, her voice breaking, but Kondo repeated that this way, they could both be happier. The scene shifted again, showing Miyuki's thoughts as she sat on her bed. She confessed to herself that she had chosen Kondo, believing that Eiji would forgive her. She had been relying on that forgiveness, telling herself that Eiji was the one she had spent over 10 years with, her destined person. She thought she would marry Eiji someday. But then, the woman in her whispered otherwise. Miyuki's tears fell as she whispered that she felt like she needed to confess everything to everyone, that it had been her who lied and cheated. Yet she admitted that she was terrified of losing everything. The scene shifted again to the school, where Eiji stood in front of his locker, staring at the abusive notes plastered all over it. His face was pale and lifeless as he walked to his classroom. Inside, everyone was gossiping about him. They called him the violent guy and said that Kondo-senpai was so cool because he had driven him off. Someone added that they did not even want to talk to Eiji anymore. Then he saw the bulletin board at the front of the room. His photo had been posted there with the words "abusive guy, get out" written across it. Next to it was a photo of his house with a note reading, "Abusive guy's house." His heart sank. He thought to himself that because of him, his family and his dad's shop would suffer. The weight of it all crushed him. His mind screamed in anguish, asking why it had to end up like this, why everything had fallen apart. Eiji ran out of the classroom, sprinting down the corridor in despair. He came to a sudden stop, shocked, when he saw Kondo-senpai standing in front of him. Kondo smirked and asked mockingly how it felt, calling him criminal boy. With anger and pain in his voice, Eiji demanded to know why Kondo would tell such a lie. Kondo's face twisted into a look of strange happiness as he replied that he did it because it was fun. He said that losing his girl and everything else made for a great show, and told Eiji that it was his fault for thinking someone like him could get with Miyuki. Kondo told him he should just drop out already. Eiji stood frozen as Kondo added that he loved wrecking other people's lives. Hearing that, Eiji's expression broke completely. His legs gave out, and he collapsed to the floor, thinking that it was hopeless now, that everything was over. The next scene shifted to a teacher, who told Eiji that she would let his homeroom teacher know just in case. Eiji thanked her weakly, saying that he was fine now. He walked away from the office slowly, his steps heavy. After that, he was seen sitting hopelessly on the stairs, staring blankly at the floor. He thought to himself that, for now, he would just get used to it, until his heart became numb to people's cruelty. He told himself that if he could just endure it, everything would eventually fade away. But in his mind, the words that other students had said began to echo again. Die. Creep. The worst. Go to hell. I'll kill you. You piece of shit. Get lost. Their voices swirled in his thoughts, each one stabbing into him like a blade. Then, behind him, he noticed the terrace door. He turned and stared at it silently. His mind whispered that maybe if he just jumped off the rooftop now, everything would become easier. Slowly, he opened the door and stepped outside onto the rooftop. The cold wind brushed against his face. When he lifted his eyes, he saw a girl standing on the parapet, about to jump.